Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Everyday Hustle Show. My name is Christian, and tonight we have another special guest. Before we get into that though, Jesse, how you feeling tonight?
Excellent, Christian. Thank you for asking. It's a pleasure to be here.
And Andrew?
I'm great. Just got home. I was out of town for the weekend. Feeling recentered and really good right now.
Excellent, man. And like I said, we have a special guest tonight. We have Phillip Wolves, and how you feeling tonight?
What's up, man? Really stoked to be here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you again for coming out, man.
No, of course, man.
We've been talking about getting you out here for a little bit. And one of the main reasons, man, I'm not sure if you checked out our stuff in the past, but, you know, our podcast really is centered around, like, self-development. Not only just self-development, but, like, figuring out kind of what you love to do and then figuring out how to get to that point where you can do that and, you know, sustain yourself. So, you know, I know that you tattoo for a living, but we'll get into, you know, more in depth of, like, everything else that you do.
Sure.
Just to kind of keep it in chronological order a little bit, if you can kind of take us back to the beginning and kind of what it was like for you growing up.
Sure. So, like, from the way back when, like...
Way back, yeah.
All right, cool. So, I'm originally from Orange County, California.
Okay.
Born and raised. I started going to school in East LA.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, right. It's
Okay.
a little drastic change, and it's actually a little known fact about me. I've actually gone to private school my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So that in and of itself is probably like a whole nother conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I moved around a lot as a kid. Like I was raised by like a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, fast forwarding into like high school and everything, I started my first job was at this little like graffiti turntable skate shop called GCS, and it was in the Arts Colony in Pomona, which if anybody is like familiar with that, it's like that's a really rough side of town, and this is like before like it was super gentrified, and I started working in this graffiti store, and it's like totally clueless, but it's like I would say that was probably one of my biggest influences in life. Reason being because it's like I got exposed to so much then, and it's like, you know, you're talking about like graffiti, punk rock, hardcore, hip hop.
So they had shows at this venue?
No, this was like just the store that sold the stuff.
Okay.
But there was, ironically enough, a venue there.
Okay.
So it was like I would work there, go to the shows, like, you know, you're getting involved in like this art culture scene.
Yeah.
And before you know it, there was a tattoo shop that opened up in that same neighborhood, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I've never seen a tattoo shop. I'm like 17, 18 years old, you know,
Yeah.
still a kid. It's like my exposure to tattooing was like my uncle and my dad. They're like old school, like real like Hispanic dudes, you know, so it's like that lowrider culture. It's like dudes have like black and gray on them, and it's like my very first early memory of tattooing and like just that art, sort of like refined art culture. My uncle would like, is like, I guess like a matlo. The dude would straight up just like drink 40s all day.
Yeah.
Paint religious oil paintings, so he'd be like sitting there hanging out, like just drinking 40, doing like a Sistine Chapel, Last Supper type of deal, and getting tattooed and like bench pressing cinder blocks.
Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of like my first deal to that. So it's like up until that point, I had like, out of sight, out of mind, and so this tattoo shop opens up. I'm like, oh, dude, this is tight. Like, you know, let me go check it out. Let me see what's going on. And I just kind of like kept on hanging out, started getting tattooed, and then before you know it, I got an apprenticeship. And that was pretty much it.
And just to kind of backtrack, so before the apprenticeship, did you see any, and before the graffiti shop, did you see like any signs of like, you know, were you big into art class in school, or like did you have anything before the apprenticeship that maybe kind of, you know, you looking back, you're like, oh, that might have been where it all started for me?
You know what's funny? So my mom likes to say that before I could talk, I could draw. And I think it was just like, I don't know, like instinctive. But that stuff like never crossed my mind. It was, you know, there is like this term that my mom would like always throw around of being a Renaissance man, which is essentially like a jack of all trades, master of none. So I like got to do everything. So it was like, music and sports and all that stuff. So I always like excelled at art, like instinctively, but it wasn't something that I ever thought I could make a living in. Yeah.
I want to ask you about so you worked at it was a store, but they were like advertised as like a graffiti shop. Like they sold supplies to make graffiti.
Yeah. Okay. So the name of the store was called GCS, right? Which stood for Giants Casting Shadows. And what they were kind of labeled under was like a hip hop turntablism like store. So it's like you would go in there to buy like your turn decks, like and like you would go buy records, and it's like before the internet and before like Spotify and like iTunes, it's like dudes would go there to drop their mixtapes, and it's like, oh man, you heard that new hotness? It's like you had to go buy it at the store. Yeah, because I was thinking in my head, I was like, yo, graffiti is like so illegal. I was like, how can somebody have a storefront be like branded for graffiti supplies? But that makes sense. Like, music and art. I love how those two go together. That's sick. I like how you were talking about instincts as a child, and I was having a conversation with someone yesterday because I'm into like photography and I do a lot of video stuff, and I'll probably start recording it here soon if that's just what I do. But like, I wanted to ask you, because I was scrolling through your Instagram and I looked at a lot of the stuff that you did. Like, do you feel like that people are born with like artistic traits and characteristics, or do you feel that? So you felt like you had the instinct and you kind of like piggytailed off that and you rolled with it because you just thought that you wouldn't be able to make a living on it. But do you think that people are born with those traits and characteristics, or like they're practiced and gained over time? That's actually like a really good question. I feel like that's like a conversation that I have with people all the time, because it's like, oh man, you're so good at art, this and that. And it's like instinctively we all, to some degree, in some format, in some medium, have, I guess, for lack of a better term, like for the sake of conversation, we're going to call it talent, right? And it's just another way to communicate outside of like vocalizing something. So it's like you're using this medium, this format, whether it be like dance or music or art or like sculpting, and it's like you're using this language to portray an emotion, thought, a sentiment that like language has a barrier for, that can transcend. And that's all like within us, right? But channeling that through discipline is what makes it a skill. I don't know if that like necessarily answers your question. But
absolutely,
like,
100%. I feel like like you could say you're a car salesman, right? But you could look at someone who just started in the industry a year, who's new a year, and you can look at the guy who has been there for 15 years and makes six figures plus, and he's like, I was at where you were at when when I was 1 year into the industry. I didn't get here I wasn't just born a salesman. I worked my ass off. I worked hard, studied what people did before me, and I'm sure that applies to people who are artists and have creative passions. Like, that's what you got to learn from the people who came before you, which is why the word apprenticeship probably exists.
Right. And it's really funny because even if you think about that, like the irony, it's like even that phrase, like of a giant casting a shadow, it's like we hear that stuff all the time where it's like we stand on the shoulders of giants, and then that's really like you have to pay your dues. You have to learn from people's past mistakes to add your 2 cents and move it forward. Right. And that's really what that's about.
And when you went through like the apprenticeship, like what stood out to you? Because I mean, we were talking a little bit beforehand. I know apprenticeship is like, just like anything else, when you get mentored or when you get brought into something, you start kind of practicing those or honing into those skills. What was that like for you?
Man, like, so without getting too much into like the technical details of the industry, my apprenticeship, going back to like being raised by a single mom, it's like for me, that was huge, not only from like a technical aspect and like learning my craft, but like I learned how to be a man through my apprenticeship. You know, it's like my mentor was this dude named Aaron Brandon Cox, and you know, like that dude taught me every single value that I have now. You know, so he was a really, really huge influence on my life.
So not just artistic stuff, like life stuff.
Yeah, life stuff. It's like
The shit that you only can't learn in books.
yeah, and I mean art is life. You know, art imitates life. That type of a thing. But you know, to kind of, and this is a fun fact that I've like never told anybody. So before I apprenticed, I didn't even know like how to mop anything. Like I didn't know how to mop a floor. It's not something I ever had to do. And it's like, you know, down to like shit like that. It's like learning how to like properly mop and like clean and like discipline.
I'm sure you mopped a lot when you were an apprentice, right? Every fucking night. This was I was trying to rewind. I couldn't remember. This was like high school time. This was when you were just out of high school.
No, so this is like we're going into like college, like second, like
okay. So you were like
in my early 20s.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's. I feel like unless you're kind of like going through some sort of like a sport, or you know your parents are like pretty like disciplining oriented or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the apprenticeship for me like took every bad habit that in essence is like permitted in society of like, you know, being lazy and making excuses and shit like that, and it like, you know, taught me responsibility, it taught me accountability, you know, it taught me integrity, and I mean all that stuff is vital.
Yeah, you don't learn that shit in college.
No, yeah, you can't fake that stuff.
Yeah.
And so going through the apprenticeship, how long was that?
I apprenticed for about 5 years, so
5
you know,
years.
like assuming like I'd say I'd probably start like 1920, give or take. You know, so 5 years, it's like, you know, like 25, something like that. Yeah.
But this is while
Before
you're in
17.
college still?
Yeah, so it's like I'm going to school, I'm holding down a job, like trying to be like a boyfriend, like just having a little bit of a social life and apprenticing on top of all that stuff. Yeah.
And so you would go to you said work, school, and then after that you'd go to the apprenticeship, the shop.
Yeah, so basically like my day would start at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So I would work out, go to class, go to work for a couple of hours, go clean the shop, open up, get the dude's food, go back to work, then like go back to shop before we close, and like get up and all like do it all over again. Yeah.
I love hearing that type of shit because everyone's always like, "Oh, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to that." No, you don't fucking. You have time. It's not important to you. Is what the way it was broken down to me, and like, and you know, it's like I want to start my own business, but I can't quit my job. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's like, how many fucking excuses are you gonna give yourself before you just start to hustle and just make it work?
You know what's crazy about that? So when I first started, right, my mentor said I only had 3 acceptable responses, right, which was yes sir, no sir, and I don't know because I don't understand. Those are the only 3 things I could say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, that's solid right there. Because usually, like when you're young and stuff, like whether it's work, school, whatever, there's at least. Well, I guess probably not everybody. I know for myself, I struggle with that. Yeah. You know, when I was like 19, 20, and even still.
Yeah, you think you got all the fucking answers,
right?
You know,
but when you cut it down to that, that's pretty big.
I still think I got all the answers.
Right? Don't we all? I feel like nah, man, I got this.
So what were you studying in school?
So
during that time,
I have 2 college degrees. So my first one was like in data structure, so it's like analytics, which is totally square. Like,
so numbers.
Totally useless. No, it's logic.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like stuff that like you go into military for, like you go into like computer programming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was totally bogus. I mean, like I got good stuff out of it, but it's not applicable to what I do now. And you know, like in the middle of my apprenticeship, because it's like you're learning 2 cultures, right? So it's like you're learning this rich, deep history of like individualism and like almost like a sense of like cultural anthropology through tattooing, and then you're going like super mainstream white collar job,
Right.
wife, kids, dog, white picket fence,
Yeah.
and it's like you're learning like both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that, I was like, you know what? Like, the only thing that has ever made sense in my life that has ever been stable was art. So fuck it, I'm gonna go to art school. And I did that. And then I like...
This is after you had a 4-year degree? You went to art school? Or
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah, I
holy
went, like,
shit.
yeah. Yeah, I went to school a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I went and I like transferred units. I was like trying to get like a master's and stuff like that. And then we get to this point, you know, where like I had some personal stuff happen in my family that sort of got me to this point where like I had to make a decision of like shitting or getting off the pot on like what I was going to commit to.
Right.
And that's what, in essence, sort of led me to becoming a tattooer.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how you know, events like that take place, but you know, some people, I don't want to say unfortunately, because obviously, you know,
Yeah.
those situations are hard regardless, but some people will spend their whole lives, you know, being on that fence, not knowing where, you know, what to pick, what to, you know, kind of not having that one solid path to take or to trust and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
so you're saying when that event happened, then you chose art fully 100%.
Yeah, you know what? Like without like getting too much into like personal detail for in respect for that person. Basically, I'd seen somebody that I grew up with my entire life, right, and played everything by the book. You know, everything that the ideal citizen person should be doing is what they did, and they got diagnosed with the terminal illness. And essentially, like, everything that they were working for,
Yeah.
that they should have received, they did not. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's no better word for that feeling. And you're just like, fuck. If this is someone that was supposed to get these things because that's what the world says is fair, and then you just see that happen to them, then
Yeah.
what, you know, what's real, what's not, what's fair. And you know, that's kind of like a really like rude awakening, because it's like you're going through the motions in life because you think that that's what works,
Right.
and you kind of just come to this realization that's like, not really, man. Like, do I go with what's expected of me, or do I decide to draw a line in the sand and go, I'm going to make my choices from this day forward, and I'm going to take whatever happens because of that, like, on the chin, because they were my choices.
Right. So
You know,
taking ownership.
Yeah, you're taking ownership. You know, it's like this person gets cut down in their prime, and you know, why am I scared? Why am I scared to take a chance? Like, I'm not gonna die.
Right.
You know, this person is like gonna go through that. Like, everything that they ever thought that they were gonna do is like no longer on the table.
Right.
So why am I scared to take a chance? You know?
Yeah.
So
And so chronologically, so when that event took place, were you just finishing the apprenticeship, or were you?
yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I'd gotten a job at a shop, and I was just kind of like
Yeah.
juggling that stuff, you know, like I didn't know what to do. It was just, you're kind of just like half-assing everything, and that really kind of like put my ass in a gear, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like the shop that I had like worked at was going to a convention, and then just like chain of events, right? I really asked myself, if I'm supposed to be in this industry and I'm supposed to do what I think I'm meant to do, because that's the only thing that makes sense in my life. Excuse me. I'm just drinking the soda. Then, you know, I should make that the only option, the only priority. You know, and I remembered the story as a kid about, you know, Cortez and the Armada, when they were invading like Montezuma, right? In like the City of Gold, in the Aztecs. And supposedly the story goes is that everyone's freaking out. They're outnumbered, and everyone's like, "Nah, dude, we're not gonna make this. We're not gonna survive. We should just give up now, right?" So Cortez grabs one of the archers, takes his bow and arrow, lights the arrow on fire, and shoots all the ships. So all the ships are on fire, and he goes,
Yep.
"We either succeed or we die." So I called my mentor and I was like, "Yo, man, like, remember like that whole story you told me about like Cortez and like sinking or swimming? So if I stay here without knowing the soul and I come up on the other end, then does that mean that I belong here and that I have every right to stand next to the rest of my peers because I worked for that?" So you know, I essentially set fire to the
Everything
ships
else,
in my
yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and I gave myself only one way out, which was to succeed.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm sure Andrew can probably relate with where you're at currently.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you get to a point where it's like, what do you got to lose?
right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like those are where you, like, those are the times when you make the best
Yeah.
choices for yourself. Because
Yeah, because when you have
life
too
is
many
short.
options,
It
right?
really is.
I like how the whole that we just probably talking for 10 minutes or so, and it started with I feel like it started with a death in your family, which like I've experienced too, and those are those life events that you kind of go through and they change you, no matter whether it's for the better or for the worse. But you realize how short really life is and how fragile human beings are, and that we're not invincible, and that if you have something that you want to do that fucking makes you happy, like you better chase that shit and figure it out, or else you're gonna waste your fucking life away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm going through now. I mean, I was working in an industry and I devoted 5-6 years of my life to something, and now I'm to the point where it was like, it wasn't a waste. I know that I'll be able to apply what I learned in those situations into other aspects of my life, but I'm just excited for a change. I'm not young anymore. I'm 31, I'm 31.
31 years young.
I'm trying to think how old the fuck I am. But it's like those are the defining life moments.
Yeah, and I love that story, man, of Cortez, because like I think a lot of people definitely do struggle with that being on the fence thing because they have so many options and they just don't want to like pick one,
right?
And just say everything else. I'm just gonna focus on one, and in some regards, I'm definitely still to a certain extent. Like right now, I think I've chosen my path with AC, with the HVAC field that I've chosen.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I think I still definitely do have something like that's like, okay, if an opportunity comes,
right,
an opportunity comes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that concept though.
But you know what's crazy about that is that like we're taught to keep our options open. Like never say no to anything.
Right.
And it's really sort of like this concept of FOMO. It's like that fear of missing out. And the more that I've sort of like spent time in this industry and I've just gone through like the lessons that like life is trying to show me, and like I'm always constantly in the pursuit of knowledge, right? I'm always trying to perfect the sense of self, not like self not as in the ego, but self as just like this sort of entity that I am that is able to create on behalf of other people,
right?
And it's this really like common thread sort of comes up where it's like when you let go of fear, then really what is there to hold you back? Because it's really like the two sort of like reoccurring themes that like make us so self-destructive is like fear and ego. So it's like if you don't have either one of those, or you try to keep them as best in check as humanly possible, then it's like what's stopping you?
Right. Yeah, that's a big concept, man. And so when your apprenticeship, because you were saying that you've been tattooing for a while now. How long have you been tattooing for?
A little, like I think I'm at my 5-year mark.
Okay.
A little over, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you've been traveling a lot. And that's something I kind of want to get into. But like, when did that start? Did that start with tattooing? Like going to different shops, going to?
So, Okay, so like, going back to the whole, like, I finally started tattooing, right? I didn't have anybody to learn from. And I sort of figured that if I wanted answers, I should seek them very literally. So I just kind of like used the tools of my like disposal, and I would travel and I would go seek anybody out that would help me know more than what I currently did. And that led me to running shops and moving to like Brooklyn and tattooing in Brooklyn, and then moving out of the country and like tattooing in Iceland. Up until like recently, and then being down here in South Florida and working in Boca. And no, I mean it's crazy, man. Like when you sort of really commit yourself to learning about something, just like being solely dedicated to, it's like all you gotta do is ask, and you'll find out.
How'd you end up in Iceland?
So through New York, I went through a recommendation from someone. Because there was like a convention, and there was like a TV show and stuff like that, and they're like, hey, we know somebody that could be useful out there. So my name came up in conversation. I just went there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of those like. So you're at the shop in Brooklyn, you said, and so just one day, just kind of the opportunity came up, and you're just like, fuck it, I'm taking it.
You know what's funny is I had just started being down here in Boca.
Oh, okay.
And I get a phone call out of the blue going, hey, you're coming to Iceland.
Okay.
This is why. And it was crazy, because it's like that thought had like never crossed my mind. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Culture shock?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
And then you went from there back to Brooklyn?
No, then from there I was basically like, again, that whole FOMO factor. It's like I was just kind of bouncing around. I was going back and forth, and I wasn't trying to say no to anything.
Right.
Up until recently, I just kind of like was starting to feel like a little spread thin,
right?
And again, it goes back to, it's like you FOMO is like a real gnarly thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's like, especially when you're like obsessed with furthering yourself, you can sort of like look at like moving on a chessboard, right? So like every step that you gain and you better yourself, it's like taking another piece in like this like game of chess called life or whatever. And it's like you can only do a couple things, right? You can only move forward, you can only move lateral, or you move back, right? So you never want to move back. Ideally, you only ever want to move forward. But where you kind of screw yourself is like moving lateral, right? Because it's not, you're not anywhere better than you were to begin with. And like really figuring that out is kind of the trick, I feel like.
And so so when you travel, cause I know like from what I've heard, I've only traveled a little bit, but I know like we were talking a little bit beforehand, and like when you travel, you kind of get like different. You get introduced to different like cultures and kind of like these different ideologies, and especially out of country. I can only imagine what that's like, because obviously there's different viewpoints and about history and just everything. Were there any like big takeaways from like that, like just conversations with people in Iceland about just anything, like topics or concepts? Yeah,
you know what? So I'm 28, right? And I've gotten to travel a real big chunk of the world. And the crazy thing that I like, if I could sum that all up in one thing, the grass is green where you water it. Because I think we're so enamored with this concept of like wanderlust, right?
Right.
Where it's like, oh man, like things will be better if I go here.
Right.
Or this place sucks. It'll be better over there.
Yeah.
But really it's about like what you commit to can be what you want it to be. And that was the big takeaway that I got from like 5 years of traveling. The problems are the same.
Right.
The ideologies are the same.
Yeah.
The same asshole you hate in your hometown is the same asshole you're going to meet over there.
It's just the culture is different.
Yeah.
I was always taught wherever you go, there you are.
Right.
Which is the same kind of concept. So geographical changes, I agree, don't do much. I mean, I've only been out of the country, a few different times, but what I do like about traveling is just experiencing different things, and I'm sure you saw a lot of new stuff, in another country, which is, it's an amazing experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, traveling and being able to figure that out is amazing. Like there's no price on that.
It's like soul searching, self-searching.
Exactly.
Self-discovery, So then how'd you end up in South Florida?
I actually got here through one of my friends that moved here from Richmond, Virginia. Quick shout out to my man David Graham.
Yo, Davey.
But this dude is like a gem of a person, and if there's sort of like this like you guys understand the concept of like the hero's journey from like Joseph Campbell. You guys ever hear about that one?
Not me.
Okay, well, without like getting totally sidetracked and getting into that, when you're sort of on like this personal journey of self-discovery, you kind of like always meet allies, or you meet like mentors or people that inspire you that are on that same sort of quest. Like I mean, like all of you guys here, like this conversation's like we're all focused on that same thing. So it's like life has a really funny way of bringing like-minded people together, and he's one of those people. It's like we grew up and like had very like hard lives in our own respects, but like that integrity and that pursuit of like personal excellence was always consistent, and he was a dude that like we started tattooing around the same time, both really disappointed with like the things around us that wanted to sort of carve out our own slice of life. And it was like I had just gotten done like working in Brooklyn. I was just like over it because I wasn't stoked on like a city built on hype, and I just wanted to do something real. And he came up to me, he's like, dude, like, why don't you come here? Why don't you make something of yourself for yourself by yourself and cut out your own piece of the pie?
And how did you guys meet?
Through tattooing.
Okay. So like at a convention or just kind of through the... Okay.
Yeah, there was a convention in like West Palm that we met up at.
Okay. How often do you go to those?
Not as much as I used to. But I have sponsorships and stuff like that, and so want to represent the companies that sponsor me. So I at least try to do like 6 a year.
You have you're sponsored by Bang?
Yeah, BPX Sports.
Yeah, we love Bang.
Shout out to Bang.
Shout out.
Drew's been reaching for that sponsorship for a couple of years.
Yeah, we've been trying to get the sponsor.
You gotta hook me up with your rep. We gotta have a talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
I think they'd be interested in what you guys are up to out here.
Yeah, man, they've been killing it, man. I remember we first heard about them probably like good three years ago, and they've been killing it, man.
They're smart people doing big things.
Okay, so I want to kind of like shift the conversation and ask you, so like a couple quick questions. So like from your Instagram, I noticed that like a lot of your work is black and white, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you hit on black and white when you first started in the graffiti shop and the Apprentice. So is that like is that like your specialty?
Well, so when I started apprenticing and tattooing, like, I was taught that being well-rounded is important, right? So that means being able to tackle anything that comes in.
Right.
So when I first started tattooing, I was doing like a lot of like Americana, script, like the normal walk-in tattoo type stuff. And it wasn't until I was able to sort of get a better grasp on the technical aspect that I was able to sit down and go, you know what, I really want to focus on black and gray because I feel like there's something more there that speaks to me that gets out a little more efficiently than every other format.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, so like, you have like a pretty significant presence online, or from what I noticed, on your Instagram account,
Thank you.
And that's something, and I mean, that's something that really, really intrigues me. And I'm curious to know, like, what steps you took to get there and how you built the following, because ultimately, from what I'm learning, through all these things that we're reading and doing and listening to, is like you can't do anything until you have kind of an audience, right? So like a lot of these guys focus on like building an audience, and then they, whether it's selling a product or a service or whatever it is, it's there.
Yeah.
Some industries, I feel like maybe it's backwards. They follow you, because they like what you're doing. Or some industries, it's like you need to build the audience, and then you have a platform to speak to them about whatever you want. How did you get to where you're at in that aspect?
You know what? I think that outside of like, having like marketing conversations and like, talking about like sales tactics and all that type of stuff. My big thing is that people get that sense of like just from face value, like it's genuine. You know, they get a genuine experience because we are so overwhelmed with people trying to sell us bullshit that we don't want, that we don't need, that they're trying to like marginalize us into like these sort of like cookie cutter specifics that people forget that like we're people first. You know, and I feel like what sets me apart from what other people do is that like I make sure that you know that when I'm talking to you, it's not about the money, it's not about the agenda, it's about like it's about you, it's about me and you.
It's about giving a shit about another human being.
Yeah, man, because it's like if you're gonna buy, you're gonna buy. It doesn't matter, but creating that genuine experience is like
most
priceless.
people know what they want to buy anyway. They're just looking for someone to sell it to them.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
You know?
Like if you want to get tattooed, you want to buy a car, you know, you want those jeans, like people are gonna get that stuff regardless, with or without you.
Yeah, and I feel like if someone has a good connection with you on a personal level, they probably feel confident that look, this guy, you know, is gonna put a piece of art on my body. It's gonna be there till the day that I die.
100%. Yeah.
You know,
and especially like
super interesting
for my industry. It's like that is super important, right? Because it's like that bond is forever. You know, and it's how many kids that because of like the internet and television, they think that they could just pick up a tattoo machine and like go for it, you know, and they did not pay their dues.
Right.
And even then it's like for the people that have, it's like, you know, everybody has a motive, but if you're genuine and you remove the motive, then I think everything kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah,
and that's one thing that's actually a big thing that I wanted to talk about too, is like what you just brought up. Have you noticed like a big wave of like new tattooers that are like taking shortcuts and like you said, not paying your dues? Because I know like technology with like you can draw on the iPod or the iPads and stuff like that. Have you noticed like a trend of that type of?
You know, tattooing is really funny in that sense now more so than ever, because I think technology is becoming such an integral part that it's like you're seeing a lot more people come into this industry. And it can be good, and it can be bad. You know, and I think a lot of that is just really like subjective.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that tattooing is in such a good place right now because it's like it's going in places that it's never been before. Like people are making things that are just like amazing and awe-inspiring. And it's like, you know, I understand the frustration of like our predecessors because it's like, you know, that stuff was very kept under wraps and it's very secret, but it's like, you know, that's no different than like a change in society, man. It's like the people that were in control and the people that were in power hate to see change, and they hate to see the generations become restless and do things that they weren't doing before, because it means that they have to give up power. And it's a changing of a guard, and it's like, why would you not want that to happen? Like things have to grow and they have to evolve and they have to change. There is a way to do that so where like you don't lose the integrity. And I guess like that's a different conversation, but you know, it's art. Like art is like a breathing, tangible thing. Like why would you not want that to grow?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people like, and really this could go in any industry, not just like creative stuff. Like I'm not gonna fucking tell you what I know because I worked this long to get to the point where I'm at. Well, it's like, yo, motherfucker, somebody taught you this shit, you know? And it's like, I feel like people hold stuff into their chest. And like, if somebody comes up to me and asks me about like photo or video stuff, I'm like, dude, let's sit down. I'll fucking tell you everything that I know because that shit, it fires me up. Yeah,
exactly.
You know? And
you're not afraid. You're not afraid of
yeah.
There's no like ego.
And you might even
involved.
learn something from that person. You never know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, what's that saying? It's like you can't steal what's given. You know, and it's like one of the dudes I respect in this industry a lot, like his name's Tim Hendricks, and it's like, I think he said it best. It's like, you will always be grateful for a good person that you meet, but you will always remember every asshole that you've ever met.
Fuck yeah.
Funny how that works.
Fuck yeah.
To just take up space in your brain like that.
Yeah, man. Like anybody that's ever done you dirt, you can remember the time, you can remember the place, you can remember the fucking shirt that you were wearing that day. Like,
Shit.
I was gonna also ask you about, because I know you're mentioning like, you know, self-development and trying to follow in that general path. and you seem very knowledgeable in terms of like literature and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Are there any books that you would recommend?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So I can't think of like the author.
That's fine. We can look it up.
But so there's this like really cool Eastern concept, and it's a really quick read, but it's called Wabi Sabi, right? And it's on the face value, it's about like Japanese tea ceremonies, right? But to sort of sum it up, it's the perfection of imperfection, right? So it's like teaches you like sort of like how to understand that like you don't have to strive for perfection, because it's really about the meditation in the moment, stuff like that. That's a really awesome read. I'm trying to think like the Book of Power.
The Book of Power.
The Book of Power. You know, it's like it's got another Japanese title. That's a lot of like Eastern philosophy.
Yeah, because that's one thing that we've we're doing with the 12 book project.
Yeah.
You know, we're focusing every single month. We're reading one book each month, and then we have like a blog that we update every single week.
That's
just
awesome, man.
On our take. And I think literature and so far our books that we've chosen have been in the category of like self-help or business or stuff like that. But I think that's interesting. Actual like philosophy books about philosophy and like old ancient.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I never really looked into any of that.
No, that's great. I mean, for me, it's like a lot of like philosophy and a lot of like just even like reading like biographies about people and stuff like that. It's like that stuff is really, really inspiring. I would say like a big. I got two more titles for you.
Yeah,
it's called like a big book that changed my life in high school. Was called The Hero's Journey, and that's by Joseph Campbell. And that's like essentially like if you were to describe like human life in a nutshell, it would be in that book.
I'll have to check that out.
And it's awesome. It's a quick read, and I would definitely say like my last recommendation is this book called On Time, and it's by this guy named Jiddu Krishnamurti. He's an Indian fella, but it's like a transcript of a conversation that he had with a physicist, and they're talking about like the concept of time and like how that stuff doesn't really matter because it's based on ego. So it's kind of like a real deep read, but like literally every page there's like just like gold.
Yeah. Damn, that's sick.
Sounds trippy.
Yeah, because we're reading right now the Mark Manson book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh, it's awesome.
You read it?
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, I love it so far, man.
When you say quick read, like 200 pages or like what's a quick read to you?
No, I mean like
Find that interesting.
Quick. Okay, so quick.
Because I don't read a lot, and like the Mark Manson books, I think it's like 200 pages.
Yeah.
Like I would consider that a quick read. It was an easy read too, but
yeah, I would say that's fair.
Yeah,
anything under
absolutely.
200 pages is a quick read.
Yeah, and I feel like a month is like way more than enough time you need to get through something like that. I mean, you could probably get through that in like a week or two.
100%. Man.
Awesome. Thanks for those nuggets. California versus Florida. I feel like a lot of people feel like they go out west to make it. Yeah, I'm gonna go to this LA, or I'm gonna be a whatever the fuck, whatever, But like, you kind of did the opposite, whereas you came from the West Coast to the East Coast. And how long have you been in Florida now?
I mean, like back and forth for like at least 5 years.
Okay, so you've had the taste of it. You kind of know and feel about the people and the vibe here. I mean, what's your opinion on it?
Between like the West Coast and the East Coast?
Just South Florida in general. I mean, what do you like? What's your take on it?
You know what I love about South Florida is that like it's like the sixth borough of New York. Because it's like we have such a rich history back. Like I don't know if you guys know this, but like dating back to like World War II, it's like all the people that had first come back from like invading Normandy went to Miami. Oh, shit. And it's like they were all like a bunch of New Yorkers because like that's where the base was from to go fight. And it's like, after fighting all that, it's like coming to Florida, it was like paradise. So those guys never left. And that became our tie between like Florida and New York. But it's cool. Like South Florida is like enough like fuckery to like get into, it's like if you want to live a fast-paced life,
right,
you got room for that. If you want to take it easy, you want to be chill, there's stuff for that. If you want to like keep it suburban,
right,
there's a place for you too. California is just like it's wild, man. I mean,
that's on or what?
You know what, man? it's like one of those things. Is it's like there's such a hype that's built around it that until you're in it, you can't really decipher that for yourself. And it's just like New York City, you know. And it's like no disrespect. Like if you love it, you love it. That's cool.
Right.
But I just feel like it's a little too much. Yeah. You're putting more than what you get.
Right. I like the idea from a creative aspect because there's always something going on. There's people to collaborate with. But like, dude, large amounts of people just give me anxiety. Yeah. That's just I can't do it.
And you're East LA too. That's like dude, East LA was fucking. I remember I actually have a story about that. When I was living in California in like 2000 and 2011, me and my friends, man, we went to like this little like out backyard house party. Yeah. And it's not our neighborhood. We're not from East LA. Yeah. You know East LA. It's very territorial.
It's about what block you're from.
Dude, it was. They knew right away, and like supposedly one of my friends had like a friend that he knew from there, but dude, it's like you said, if you're not from there, if you don't like, you can drive down, and it's like anywhere else. You could drive down like the main street, and it looks pretty, it looks nice. Yeah. But as soon as you turn off the road, you really would never know until you're like there.
Yeah, you know what I will say about this, and this is probably what makes me appreciate where I live more, is that this, because South Florida isn't Florida. You know, for those of us that don't live there, it's like it's its own almost like little state. But we're just like a city where like we're whatever we're transplants. Everybody comes from somewhere else.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I don't know what it is.
Like locals are like rare around these parts.
But it's like everyone looks at each other from South Florida, and it's like you subconsciously know that somebody like that person is here to figure something out too. Right. And it's weird like that.
I never thought about that.
It's like always like it's like the springboard for the next thing. And I can really appreciate that.
Yeah, same. I mean, I'm definitely on the springboard. You know, I've been here for 7 years. It'll be a little over 7 years now. And like, I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up near the beach. And the summertime was when I thrived. Right. So me living here is like a perfect fit. Yeah. And my wife grew up in Colorado. Right. She hates the cold now. She can't stand it. And she's only 29. So it's like. Yeah. We'll probably be here for some time, but I also feel like eventually there's going to be a point in time where it's like we go, somewhere else. Yeah. But the journey down here it's been incredible.
It's like transforming.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that topic, man. I love the topic of like, trying to figure it out, man. And it's I think it can be tough, man, with like so much, information, so many sources, whether it's TV, internet, radio, wherever. There's just so much information that you can like, and it can be discouraging sometimes. Like if you're trying to, like I said, or like you were saying earlier, like trying to figure out your path, trying to figure out where you want to go. There's just so many options.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. Absolutely.
And it definitely makes it harder. But I think once you kind of find your niche, and like a big topic too is the people you surround yourself with. Like all these guys that I've known for probably 4 or 5 years now, something like that. If it wasn't for them, like the fact that, like you said, like-minded people kind of find their way to each other. Do you have like a circle like that down here, or just in general?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like you should always be challenging yourself. So that kind of makes the circle always changing too. And I guess without getting like too philosophical, it's like people sort of like can pick that up and they'll come to you for whatever reason. Yeah. And it's like, I think that everybody just like comes when they're supposed to, and it's like, and if you're aware enough and you're like within that moment enough, it's like, it's an equal exchange of information and knowledge, so it's like, we're social creatures. We're supposed to enrich each other's lives. So it's like, I think that like, that circle isn't meant to be permanent. We're meant to sort of take what we need and give what we're meant to give, and just kind of keep it moving. Yeah.
That's interesting. And so, besides tattooing, like now that you've been tattooing for a while, besides tattooing, do you have any other hobbies that you're into?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like I really just try to get my hands into everything.
Yeah. See what you like, what you don't like.
Yeah. I mean, like I love listening to like music and like going to shows and stuff like that, and like traveling and just really kind of taking in and appreciating like anything that's creative. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I just try to like take from that and have that enrich my life too, in whatever way that it's supposed to.
Does this career give you like the freedom and the time to be able to explore those things?
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Like I don't know how I got so lucky, but like this career is a blessing for sure, because I thought all the things that I've done, I thought would have taken me a lifetime, and it's like I've done so much and I've seen so much, and I feel
and you're
so
young as shit still.
dude.
too.
Yeah, I'm 28. I feel so fucking blessed. Like
Yeah.
I've done shit that people would never do in their lives. You know what I mean? It's like, it sounds a little fucked up, but it's like I've seen the Northern Lights and I've seen the Aurora Borealis more times than I care to. It's like I'll be walking down the street, I'm like, oh, whatever, the fucking lights are on. You know, and that's fucked. But it's like I've seen it enough to where it's like run of the mill, and that's amazing.
Are there still any places that you like absolutely want to visit, or things that you want to see still? Like bucket list type shit?
I mean, I'd like to spend more time in my bed for sure. Sleeping.
Yeah.
But nah, I don't know, man.
Like any country that you've like, or have you just about visited like
you know what, I've seen a lot of places. At this point in my life, I just care about hanging out with my homies.
Yeah.
I just want to hang around like good people. I don't give a fuck where that's at. I just want to be around good people and share like that moment with them. Like that's what's important to me right now.
Damn. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And the fact that, like he said, you know, this career's allowed you that opportunity to, if that's here, if that's, you know, Europe or whatever, that's awesome. Dude. That's one thing I want to do more is travel. I've only been to Mexico one time when I was like fucking young, you know, with my mom and stuff. So I was, you know, still super young. But I'm planning a trip. Well, actually, I'm going on a cruise in November with
awesome.
My girl and her parents. So that's gonna be really fun, man. We're going to Mexico, but it's the American-owned Mexico. It's Cozumel, so I'm stoked,
Mexico's rad, man.
And then I think I've been planning this actually for like probably 2 years now. But I'm going to Europe in March of next year.
That's dope,
March,
man.
April.
Yeah, you're gonna love it for sure.
Yeah, dude, I'm so stoked, man.
All right, I definitely feel like we could probably talk for another 2 or 3 hours. I know we're probably getting short on time. Tell everyone who's listening to our show where they can find you, man, online, in person. Where you at?
Oh, what's up? Well, I stay over at Stroke of Genius in Boca. That's Raffle Meadow Park in Meisner. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Phillip Wolves, phillipwolves.com. You know, holla at your boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tight. All right.
Oh.
Anybody have anything else they want to add?
No, man. I appreciate you again, man, for coming out. Thank you. We've been trying to get you to come out for a little bit. So
no, it's huge. You guys are doing it big. I would not be surprised watching you guys take this thing off and really like getting this on like a TED Talk kind of level, because it's like that's how it starts. It's like I'm sitting here and it's like you feel the energy. You guys want it. It's positive. Like you guys are gonna do big things.
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just got the chills. But yeah, that's what it's about, and we're blessed, and the journey is just starting, and like it's a process, and every step along the way is awesome. And we, 3 months ago we didn't know how to do any of this shit.
Right.
No, you guys are killing it.
You know, yeah, it's a blessing just to be able to even have the opportunity. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Give us a rating on iTunes if you can. If you like the show. Check it out, feedback, honestly, and we appreciate everything, and all the listeners, and the blogs will be updated, website will be updated shortly, and thank you all for tuning in.